Just a few weeks ago, the Montreal Canadiens and Kent Hughes used their 5th overall pick to tighten up and absolutely solidify their defensive prospect pool. One thing that us Habs fans noticed in this year's draft is that we did not select a ton of forwards, which was very odd considering this was a very high talented forward group in this draft class. So the question is, how good are the forward prospects in the Montreal Canadiens organization? So in today's video, we are going to take a look at the Montreal Canadiens forward prospect pool, and although we might not have a Connor Bedard or a Matvei Michkov, we still do have some exceptional talent and a hell of a lot of variety. So let's get us started with the centers in our prospect pool. The most notable center is Owen Beck, a very smart two-way center who has some very sneaky offensive upside. When we drafted this guy, everyone started giving him the nickname Shane Wright Light, as in he's a very similar player to Shane Wright. Not as good, but similar enough. And you know what? A year later, I'm not saying he's better, but I think down the road, Owen Beck might end up being a better player than Shane Wright. And that is crazy because that is a crazy amount of value for the first pick in the second round. Now, Owen Beck will be looking to create a spot for himself in this year's Montreal Canadiens roster, which will be no easy task because we have way too many forwards and not a lot of room for a youngster. Last year, he left one hell of an impression, and I'm sure this year he'll be making even more of one. So who knows, depending on how well he does at camp, he could go from one of our best prospects to an NHL regular. Now, another center prospect that I have listed here is Riley Kidney. He's a very underrated prospect in my opinion, and he's shown a lot of improvement in the last season or two. This will most likely be his last year in juniors, and he's probably going to either play in the AHL or in the ECHL. But he's still a pretty good prospect, and he made a lot of improvement in the past year when it came to driving to the middle of the ice, finding more space, and creating a lot more offense. So that's some great stuff there from Riley Kidney. Next up, we have Jared Davidson, who is a sneaky prospect. He is super underrated, and he's a player that no matter what, he is always trying to improve. So watch out for him in the future. He may quietly climb the rankings in our center depth. Now, to finish off the center position, there are two other names that we're not going to go in depth with, but those are Oliver Kapanen and Vinny Rohrer. A lot of Habs fans forget about these two players, but let me tell you, when it comes to representing their own country in the World Juniors, they are excellent. Anyways, that does it for the center position. If you are still watching, I know the prospects don't seem that amazing just yet, but there's a good thing you stuck around because let me tell you, the winger position is where all the juice is at. And let us start off very strong with Juraj Slafkovsky. And I know he might not be considered a prospect anymore, but to me, he is. And in this case, he's still our best forward prospect, so we're going to talk about him today. Juraj Slafkovsky is a monster. You know, he's got the size, he's got the hands, he's got the speed, he's got the shot, he's got the passing abilities. He just has to put it all together, and he's going to be one fine player. This summer, he's even been using some sciencey stuff, stuff way out of my domain, but it's pretty much to help him breathe better. And breathing helps you with a lot of things. And the most notable thing that'll help Juraj Slafkovsky is being able to make the right decision under pressure. So just some amazing stuff there. You want to see your top prospect always trying to improve. So expect him to have a great season next year. I'm excited for what he's going to do, and I hope he proves all the haters wrong. Now, the next player I have on the winger list is Joshua Roy. And to me, he is our Swiss Army knife in our prospect pool. He could do just about anything, and he could do it all extremely well. Do you need him on the power play? He's got that on his CV. You need him to kill penalties? He'll kill that penalty. You need him to score a bunch of goals or make a crazy play? That is no difficult task for Joshua Roy. He could play both center and winger, but I do have him as winger for this video. Now moving on to the next player who is also both a center and a winger, but I have him in the winger position for today to make it simple. It is Philip Machar, former 26th overall pick in the 2022 draft. Machar is a very nifty, shifty, and quick player. He may not be the biggest, but he knows how to use his size properly, and he's an excellent playmaker. In last year's development camp, he put on a show, and he was one of the standouts with other players like Owen Beck and Emil Heineman. The unfortunate thing was after this, he did not have the best season in the OHL, but don't worry guys, there's nothing to worry about here. It was only his first season playing in North America. And yeah, there's a big difference, especially when it comes to the ice surface, so it's normal for him to take over a season to adjust. Now moving on to the next winger prospect, and I have Sean Farrell. He is one of our most exciting prospects. You know, he looks like a mini Johnny Gaudreau, and that is the kind of player I want to see in our prospect pool. Just like Philip Machar, he is on the shorter side, but that's okay because his skills totally make up for it. He had one hell of a season in the NCAA this year, and he had a couple of games with the Montreal Canadiens to end off the year. Unfortunately, he wasn't much of a standout in his few games, and I do think because of that, he will be starting in Laval this year. But that is no diss to Sean Farrell. He is still one of our best prospects, and he's going to make a big effect on this team in the future. Now we're going to be talking about the last winger that I have listed, and that is Emil Heineman. We acquired him back in the Tyler Toffoli trade, and he's been one of our better prospects since. After finishing his season last year, he ended up joining the Laval Rockets to finish off the regular season and the playoffs. And man, did he put on a show. In his first 7 games in the American Hockey League, he put up 7 goals. A goal per game for the first 7 games. That is something we do not see very often. And it's something real nice to see from someone who's been playing in Europe. Because as we know, it's not always the easiest transition from the European leagues to the North American style. But he transitioned perfectly. Not to mention, but he was also one of the best prospects in the camp last year. So a lot of people think that he might end up making a roster spot for himself with the Montreal Canadiens this year. Now, there are many other prospects in our prospect pool, but these are the most notable in my opinion and the ones that I think will have the greatest impact on the Montreal Canadiens in the future. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we have tons of talent, and I also mentioned that there's a ton of versatility. So yeah, if you did enjoy today's video, don't be afraid to hit that like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Now with that being said, I'll see you all next time. Take care.